So let's say out of season, if you're not coaching a basketball team or poring over your notes related to basketball, what are you interested in? What are some of the things you're trying to do?
Well, if I'm not working, if it's the off season, I'm golfing for sure, or traveling. I do like to travel, but I do travel to golf, so it's all related. It's funny. I'm not that good of a golfer. I just love to play golf, so that would be my answer.
Why do you love it?
It's a great focus game. It really is. I play it during the season if I can. If it's when I was in Boston, I had a hitting studio in my house. You have to focus to golf, and I thought it was great for me to get my mind off of my job because I do internalize my job, and so I think golf is the one thing that I have finally found to take my mind off of it, which I think is very healthy.
Have you ever golfed at any of the courses around here?
I've golfed at a lot of the courses around here. Actually, it's really my reputation of liking golf does not match up with my ability to golf. And so when it was announced that I was coming here, I got calls from people, friends that I've known here, or people from LA connected me to people here. I've played Pine Valley, I've played Marion, I've played Manufacturers, I've played the Cricket Club. So yeah, I've played here.
What's your handicap?
I don't share my handicap, but it's good. It's a good handicap.
Tremendous. I feel like one of the things I remember reading about when the articles came about how the Clippers were able to get Kawhi, you were at Nobu.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could eat at restaurants like Nobu on the regular, but that got me wondering, are you into food? Do you like
Yeah, I think I would be considered a foodie. Some of my friends from Philly have already sent me a list of restaurants. And one of ex-76er, Charlie Widows, sent me an extensive list recently. So, yeah, I am a foodie.
Excellent. Do you have any favorite types of food, cuisines?
I love sushi and different types of sushi. I love Spanish food, actually. I love tapas and paella. And there's no American that doesn't eat great Italian restaurants. So I got a feeling I'll do well here in that regard.
Got to see Charlie's list. He was here for about 2 years, but
Yeah.
I think felt he was the expert foodie on the scene in Philly. Tell me about music. Are you into music? Do you have music?
Yeah, I don't have a favorite or a genre. I worked in a record store, a real record store, where you played 45s and albums, and every time someone walked in, you had to put the needle on, and they had to listen to it for 15 seconds. Young people have no idea what I'm talking about, but it was a great experience, and I love jazz. I love everything. I'm a big music guy. Every game I play, I make a song list, and I play it going to every game.
Really? Can you give us just maybe a sampling of some of the artists you want to
Oh my God. I'll go old because I'm a big Luther guy. It's funny. My players laugh at me because I'll play slow music sometimes on the floor, and they're like, "We're going to sleep." I said, "No, it's getting you where it needs to get you." So, and I'm a huge Teddy P guy. So he's a Philly guy. That's right. So yeah, I'm a big music guy.
Tremendous. That's awesome. All right, now maybe for some of the more mundane stuff. Do you feel like you're running on oxygen right now? Have you had a chance to catch your breath over the last 7 days?
No, I haven't caught my breath yet. It's funny. I'm going so fast right now that I don't sleep. You can't sleep because your mind's on. We got a lot of work to do. We really do. And I'm a worker, and so right now I just feel like I have a lot to do, and so I'm just going to work through it and then get my rest.
Well, what did you like viewing from the opposite sideline about the 76ers?
Their size, their versatility. I think this team, what has been? Exactly, no one can tell you. Tobias, see a 3 or a 4. Joel, you can play him at the 5. Can you play him at the 4? Can you go big? His skill set is of a 5 and a 4 and a 3. Josh, what is he? You go down the list, and they have a lot of guys that are, to me, what I call ballers, and they don't really have a position. I love positionless teams, and so that's the appeal for me. other than Joel is going to be your 5. Other than that, everyone else is in flux.
Can you walk me through the evolution of just kind of how things went, like when you got the first call from the 76ers, when you heard from them, just maybe thinking of this as like a narration of how a viewer or a listener might hear the story of how this all came together?
Yeah, so I get a call, I get released from the Clippers, right? And within 6 hours, my agent calls. Actually, when I called my agent to tell him, he said, well, I have 3 teams that have expressed interest if this happens. Would you like me to call them? And I said, I'd rather take a day and just relax. And within 4 hours, he calls me back. Well, they've already called, and now they all want you to come down. And I won't say the team's names, obviously, but I asked if one of them was the 76ers. And he said, yeah. I said, that's the one I want to take. I want to come down and talk to them. They flew me down. I don't remember days. Within 48 hours. And we met, and within another 24 hours, we agreed. I mean, it was the quickest hiring ever. So it's all good.
Let's focus on the hiring part. Why do you think it came together that quickly? What were the factors?
I think there are a lot of good factors. One, I wanted it, and 2, they wanted me. I think our discussion went great. When I was very honest coming here. I didn't come here begging. I came here telling them what I saw, what I thought needed to be done for us to have a chance, and listen to what they saw. And I was very honest with them. I said, if you don't see that vision, then be honest with me, because I don't want to come somewhere where you have a different vision. I want to win. I've coached long enough, and I've won a title, right? And once you win one, you need another one. Just not for legacy. I care less about that, because you need another one. You just want another one. And that's my drive. That's what drives me. That's what gets me up in the morning.
Can you maybe put into terms for the layperson what that feeling is like the itch, the need to feel that experience again?
It's the best feeling in the world, winning. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, winning. And the feeling of it is that not you did it, we did it. And when you reach that, there's no feeling in the world that can copy watching young men cry, jump around, emotion, because they know they did something extraordinary outside the box. And you want to go through that again.
How do you make the we happen?
Oh gosh, you talk about it every day. It's habits, accountability every single day, discipline. The word I like using over all those is cooperation. When you have a group of players, ownership, staff, everyone has to cooperate from the trainer down, and that one can't. And when you get that buy-in, that's how you do it.
You just mentioned accountability. I was also probably very creepily lurking through your Twitter timeline, and I saw a retweet from the author John Gordon, who I actually think that some of the employees with the 76ers and HBSC, when we first get here, we have to read some of these leadership books, and I think we read the ones
He's
that
actually a good friend.
Is he really?
Yeah, we go to dinner a lot. We share thoughts a lot. Yeah.
And he's got some really poignant ones, and ones about culture, about like the most important part of your job as a leader is to drive the culture. So it sounds like accountability is one thing. What are some of the other things that make up the goods of culture?
Consistency. You need that. You have to have consistent habits every day to drive culture. And the biggest thing that I think people miss is care. People like, why am I going to buy into a culture that doesn't care for me? And so you have to prove to them first. You have to love them first before they're going to love you back. And I think that's the most important part.
When did you realize that? I mean, is that something that, like, when you were playing, has that always been a part of you?
No, it hasn't. I wish I had have known that as a player. I think late in my career playing for Pat Riley and listening to him talk, I always thought I had bought in. I really did. As a player, I always thought, man, I'm a player that have bought in. And then when you play from Pat Riley, he asks for more. And when you buy into that, you realize you really never bought in the past. And once you do that, you understand what that looks like.
It sounds like Pat Riley's a name that you could put on a list of people who have inspired you or influenced you. Who are some other people? It could be within basketball, outside of
my
basketball.
parents, obviously. My dad was a cop, in Chicago. He was in the era of community cops. He was the basketball coach, football coach, baseball coach. People would bring people by just so he could sit and talk to them about life. He was very important in the community I grew in. And my mom was my favorite. I mean, she was a very religious assembly line worker, but she had this thing, both about no victims. You're never going to be a victim. I don't care what they did, just keep it going. She was a big believer in keeping it moving. You just could not come in and blame something in my household. It wasn't going to happen. It was your fault because it happened. Now move on. That was my parents. But then I had great coaching. I had Larry Brown as a coach, Mike Fratello as a coach, Rick Majerus and Al McGuire. I'm the luckiest player to play because I always play for great coaching. And I think all that stuff is what probably formed my thoughts now.
I feel like I heard some people bring this up with you already about the comments you made about Ben and Joel and the Magic and Kareem semi-comparison. Can you unpack if you want, I can play it for you if you want to.
No, I did it because it was more about who they are as far as personality. Like, I thought Magic and Kareem, you couldn't pick two more different human beings. Kareem barely spoke, very quiet. Very analytical player in some ways. Did not want to play fast break, wanted to walk the ball up the floor, wanted you to wait for him, and then got down, you threw it to him. And then you have Magic, who wanted to fly down the floor, who had personality and joy and smile and wanted to play at a fast pace, threw behind the backpack. I mean, you couldn't have had two more opposite players that fit perfect. And that's the point. That's why I made it. No, you can be completely opposite games and you can absolutely fit. And that was the point I was trying to make.
And I'll admit it too, when I was listening to the introductory press conference you have, I didn't think of Ben and Joel in terms of, when they play together, they win 65% of the games. I mean, maybe sometimes it's just that simple. Obviously, there's a lot more layers to it.
But it is that simple in some ways. Like, we start dissecting these guys to the point where we forget what they do great. You have two guys that whenever they play together, win 65% of the games, and all you hear about is what they don't do. And that's insane to me. You can score 135 points in a game, and all you hear about is that Ben didn't take a three. I thought the idea was to score a lot of points as a team. And I didn't know that there were style points, that if this guy had this many points, I don't care how we score. I just know we need to. And so that's my focus with this team.
How much have you even been able to start to think about stylistic things on the court, offensively, defensively, and what you see?
Not a lot. I have, because I had to think about taking the job. But that's where it stopped. So I've watched a little film. I will admit to that. I'm probably the only one who's watching film right now. But other than that, I'm not sure yet how we're going to play. I just know I have goals now that offense and defensive goals. I think we were 19th in offense last year. We can't be that and win. I think we have to be in the top 7. And how we get there is what we have to do next.
Just because I'm curious, when you watch film, are you a good tape guy? Do you like to watch good tape, bad tape, or stuff in between?
Well, in golf, I like to watch my bad swings. In basketball, I like to watch both. I love watching good in basketball because it shows me what they're capable of, but bad because it shows me their habits.
Tobias, you referenced him earlier. What do you think worked when he was in LA with you guys? He put up some terrific numbers.
Yeah, I gave him freedom. Number one, I'm a big believer in freedom because with freedom comes actually you're more accountable to your teammates. If I'm going to give you the freedom, then you can't lose that by taking bad shots and playing the wrong way. I think I thought I really got him to understand who he was and what he was. And once he bought into that, it was easy for him to play free because he knew his shots, his way, and we allowed him to do it.
It sounds like you've kept in touch with him a little bit, but have you followed what he's been doing off the court since he left you guys? Not to suggest that he didn't do it in previous stops.
Yeah.
At least here with us, we've seen front and center how he's really taken leadership by the horn.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't know if he was a leader or not because we had such a transient team, I guess would be the best way, because people were going in and out of the door. But I know he wanted to be. And so that's the start. I love to hear that.
Give us a sense. I know that you said you haven't been able to dive too deep into X's and O's yet, but do you have a timeline in mind by, like, let's say next week I want to be here, and by the end of the month I want to be there?
That's a good question. My first goal is to get staff in place. By Friday, I would have talked to, probably by tomorrow, I want to have at least talked to everybody by phone. And then my next step is I'm going to start flying around where these guys are. I've already talked to Al about going to Atlanta. That's where he lives in the off season. Just sitting down at the dinner table, man, talking basketball, talking vision. I think they have to see a vision, and my job is to show them that vision.
Two things to follow up on there. First, reaching out to players in the immediacy now. I mean, obviously we're in such a different world for so many different reasons, but in this COVID distance world that we're in, I mean, I figure in a normal world, maybe you'd have a full roster here to welcome you on your first day. So what do you do now?
It is harder, in the normal world, due to COVID, everyone's gone, and you have to find them. And I think that's very hard. And also due to COVID, it's you don't know when the season starts. That's very difficult for a player and a coach to know when to ramp it up.
And to circle back on your assistants in general, what do you look for in a staff? You've had some great assistants over the years.
I always say my staff, you have to be a fighter to be in my staff. If you are somebody who's telling me what I want to hear, it's not going to work on my staff. I want live debate. I do. And it's funny, every time I bring in a new coach, they're very uncomfortable with it because I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to disagree with you sometimes when I think you're right. I just think I need guys to tell me the truth.
So whatever the date or general range of time is, let's imagine a great world in which you've got 20,000 people in South Philadelphia. You've played in that environment. You've coached in that environment. You get to where you guys want to go. Like, what do you hope to bring this fan base?
Consistent play, hard play, team play. There's nothing better for a fan than when you walk out on the floor, you say, dang, they play together. Man, they play hard. Man, they play together. If you can get that, you're in great shape.
Did any of the fans get your mentions on Twitter? I know you're on there. Did you check the mentions?
I don't. It's funny. I am the worst Twitter user ever. And Instagram. I got on. My daughter works at CAA. She told me I needed to get on. I don't check anything. I mainly got on because I wanted to start creating social, education. And so I use it for that. Now I'll post something every once in a while. But as far as the mentions, likes, I think they are. And I don't even know how you find those things because one thing I don't do, I won't read any of the comments.
I think that's a very healthy mindset.
And I've heard that's very healthy.
For this portion, last thing, I just want to circle back on this because we didn't talk about it first. Tell me about, your life with your family. How much does family mean to you?
Well, family's the world. My ex and I are still very good friends. I have 4 kids, and they're the world. I'm a grandfather 2 times over, and Austin did his gender reveal thing yesterday, and now I'm going to have another grandson. So I have 2 grandsons, and 1 granddaughter. Parenting is awesome. I have 4 kids, 3 boys, 1 girl. But grandparenting is on another level. It is. I tell you, there's nothing better than winning a game or even losing a game, and your daughter knowing that you're really happy or sad, and she can send you a picture, and your day changes. So that's been fantastic for me.
Something I spoke to Elton about was the symbolism of Black general manager, Black head coach.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. when I leave this place and decide to go off to some faraway golf course, my goal is it to be said that Elton Brand is the best GM in sports. That's my goal.
Why is that?
I think it's important. I do. I take it seriously. We don't have a lot of black GMs or black front office people. And if he's successful, then someone else can be. If he's successful, then we'll have a woman who's a GM. Then we got to just take away the fear of that. And so I really want Elton to do well. I think it's my job to help him, and I'm going to try to do that.
He said to me, and I'm probably going to butcher this story, but he remembered when he was playing at some point during his career, like he was passing by you on the sideline and you said, like, lighten up or like have some fun or something like that.
Yeah.
Tell me in your words, what relationship, did you have much of a relationship with Elton?
It's funny, I don't know Elton well until, we're getting to know each other, but that's a true story. I'm watching him on the floor and he just looked so mad, and it was late in my career and I was just starting to coach, and I was like, enjoy it, man. Like, it's a great game. I do think we lose light of that. I see our players now not having fun. I got to tell you, competing as a player, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than a hard, just nasty, fought-out game of competition. I don't even call it basketball. I call it a game of competition. And, to the victors goes the spoils. And if you know that while you're in the competition, you'll play harder.